Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Impact Doc Conversations. Impact Doc is a platform where we sit with the most influential leaders, change makers, social innovators, development leaders, and impact builders, shaping Africa's future through bold ideas, courageous leadership, and transformative action. My name is Benita, and I'm your host for today. Today, we're diving into a very vital theme, leading for impact, rights, dignity, youth innovation, and building resilient communities in Nigeria. We want to explore what it truly takes to build a more equitable society, move past development rhetoric, and drive deep system change. To help us dissect this, we're honored to host our guest whose work has touched countless lives in Nigeria and beyond, and has spent decades championing girls' rights, gender equality, youth empowerment, humanitarian response, community development, and system change. He is the country director of Plan International. Dr. Charles Usie, thank you so much for joining us on the Impact Doc Conversation today.
It's a pleasure to be here and to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Sir. All right. So before we talk about organizations, policies, development, I'd love us to start with the person behind the title because, every impactful leader has a story, right? So we always start our conversation on the doc with this very, very special question. What is your social impact story? I mean, we want to hear about your journey in the development and humanitarian work. What experiences shaped you towards systemic change and right-based development? What drew you to actually dedicate your life to solving this problem, to solving vulnerable or helping and advocating vulnerable communities? Despite its demanding, why are you not doing something else? So let's look back. Is there like a defining moment that actually set you towards this path, or was this journey actually a mistake? Would like to know, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. To be honest, I think my journey was carefully designed to be this way. I saw it actually, to be honest. And when I say this, people ask me how.
Wow.
And one way I use in describing this is Stephen Covey's principle on beginning with the end in mind.
Oh, I think I need to take
So Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the first principle in the book is begin with the end in mind. And what he meant was to envision the end of whatever it is, whatever journey you are going on or embarking on, envisage the end of it. And once you are able to capture what that end will look like, which is the ultimate goal or the ultimate destination, walk it backwards to where you are today. That helps you define a path. And I think that's my own path. Now, the question would be, at what age did I see this? I will say I saw this very early on in my career, especially when I just finished high school.
Wow, okay.
So I went to a minor seminary, actually, which means that as a Catholic, when you go to a minor seminary, you are expected to proceed to the major seminary to become an ordained Catholic priest. So that was how I started.
Wow.
But eventually it didn't go that way because I somehow came in contact with a group of people who were setting up an NGO many years ago. This was in the late 90s. And I was brought in as a volunteer. And the reason why I came in as a volunteer was because I was struggling as a young person on what to do with my life.
Wow.
I didn't want to become a Catholic priest again. And at some point, I wanted to go to the NDA, which is the National Defense Academy, because I wanted to become a Navy officer. It didn't work out because to get into the NDA was very difficult. So this was me struggling with more like a broken dream, confused state, not sure of what exactly I'm doing. And then in the midst of that confusion, the only person who I could speak to was my mom, who at that time was a single mom. My mom, my dad left us when I was very young. So you see, my situation fits, the description many young people will tell you today in terms of the confusion, the struggle. So this was me confused, young, full of energy, but not sure what I wanted to do with life.
Wow.
And then my mom, who was also struggling as a single mom with 5 children, didn't know what to do, didn't have much answers for me. Instead, took me to a reverend sister who was running a center for renewal, more like a retreat center, in Jos at that time. And it was during this 2 weeks retreat that this reverend sister, of course, both prayed with me and all of that, but more spent time talking with me in terms of what my vision, my passion was. It was there we established that I think I have something for children and for young people. And she said, coincidentally, Charles, the Archbishop of Jos at that time, God bless his soul now, late Archbishop Gabriel Gonsum Ganaka, was setting up an NGO belonging to the Catholic Archdiocese of Jos, which was to cater for orphans, vulnerable children and widows.
Wow.
And she said the Archbishop had given her the mandate to put a small team of people together to deliver this mandate.
Wow.
And she said, will you be interested? I was like, given my current situation, I think I would rather do that. And so I came, she said, you can come in as a volunteer.
Wow.
And I joined, and for 4 years, I was a volunteer.
Wow.
While still figuring out what I was doing. So if you know what 4 years means for a young boy to try to figure out what to do with life. During those 4 years, my mates that went to the university were graduating.
Okay.
My mates who went to the seminary had progressed significantly. Like it looked like everybody had advanced or made progress except me.
Wow.
I was volunteering.
Wow.
Without pay. I was growing up in poverty. We were really poor, like very poor. So it didn't make sense, both to me and to many people, because then my friends would tell me, Charles, you're so poor, you can't afford anything, and you're volunteering for free. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So what I did was to get a job that could pay me something. So I was working as a laborer in a gas company, in a cooking gas company, like a company where they refill cooking gas. So I was working there because I was big. I had a lot of energy. I had muscles. So I said I could use it, So I was a laborer there, working, but then volunteering for this NGO for 4 years. Wow. And it was in the course of those 4 years, I fully established I didn't need to go to the NDA anymore. I didn't want to. I was not going to become a Catholic priest. I made up my mind to go to the university. And that was what happened. So it was a complete change, but I wouldn't call it I think for me it was a discovery. It was repurposing. And by the end of those 4 years, when I finally got into the university, when my mates were graduating and people thought I had missed my way, at that time, I was already a program officer in this NGO.
Wow.
With an official car,
Whoa.
with leading really exciting work and already winning grants for the organization.
Wow.
In fact, as I speak to you today, this NGO, which became the social arm of the development social arm of the Catholic Archdiocese of Jos, has a huge office and a hotel to itself in Jos.
Wow.
I wrote the proposal that won us a grant to get that at that stage, So it's a legacy that I've left behind. And I'm very proud. Anytime I go there and I look at the building, I imagine the days we started, and it's so pleasing. So that's how my journey started. So as when I was going to school, even if my mates thought, oh, Charles had missed his way and had been left behind, somehow it appeared I leapfrog. And by the time I was graduating from university, I was already an international consultant. I was everywhere else but in Nigeria. And that just changed my trajectory to the point where by the time I started off, when I left them, I was already a consultant to ActionAid. So by the time I was finishing school, I had some very serious work to do for ActionAid in Uganda, in Kenya, back home in Nigeria. And then after some years, I joined Christian Aid. Christian Aid is also a British NGO. And I was in Christian Aid for 15 years. I left them as country director. And then I joined Plan. So it's been, well over 2 decades of professional experience. And I think that just really helped me strengthen the core of who I am. And right now, I don't think I'm doing a job. I'm just living my life and enjoying my life.
Wow, thank you so much for, being open right out of the gate. I mean, it's clear that it's not just a career for you.
Yeah, it's beyond that.
It's a calling.
Yeah.
And you're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And this is actually very inspiring. I think a lot of accidental humanitarians end up making waves.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that calling, sir, tell us about Plan International. We want to understand your work and your role. What do you do at Plan International?
So currently, I lead our work in Nigeria as a country director for Plan International. Plan International is a global organization established 90 years ago to seek for the rights of children and equality for girls. That's our mandate, our global mandate. Wow. It's the rights of children, it's equality for girls and opportunities for young people. Currently, we exist in 84 countries worldwide. Whoa. Nigeria being one of our newest, actually. Okay. We've been in Nigeria for only about 11 years.
That's over a decade.
And I have been country director for just 4 years. So my predecessor is also a leader in the sector, a big brother, Dr. Husseini Abdu. He set up Plan in Nigeria, and I took over from him, as a friend and a big brother. He's guided me and supported me in many ways. And he's still in the sector, actually. He's currently the country director of Care International.
Wow.
And for me, it's important I say that because that's what leadership is all about.
Definitely.
It's transitioning,
Absolutely.
from one person to another. And Plan International in Nigeria is both a humanitarian and a development NGO. So we lead huge humanitarian responses across Nigeria. And we also lead very exciting development work across Nigeria. And to that extent, we have developed a strategy to reach 20 million girls in the next 5 years. So our agenda is that by 2030, we will have served 20 million girls directly, not indirectly, not through radio programs. I mean, we would have made contact directly one-on-one with 20 million girls, either directly as Plan International or through one of our partners, but to be a direct engagement rather than maybe like through extension or indirectly. So that's our mandate. And what do we want to do for girls in Nigeria? We want girls to lead, to learn, to thrive, and to decide. What are they learning about themselves, learning about life? We want them to lead, to become leaders. We want them to be able to thrive, in spite of the situation in Nigeria. And then we want them to make decisions about their bodies and about their life. This is the agenda for girls in Nigeria, and it cuts across 5 thematic areas. It's education, it's youth development, it's livelihood, employability or employment, it's reproductive health, and then it's what we call child development, which is more looking at children and, management of children. Okay, and the 6th one, which is protection, big issue, protection, which has to do with every form of abuse, and all of that. These are the 6 core areas we work with in Nigeria for girls, for children and young people.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Charles, for sharing that, insightful work that you do at Plan International. As you shared, Plan International is a globally recognized organization, and they're globally recognized for advancing child rights and youth empowerment, gender equality. And so my question is, why is empowering girls actually not just a moral imperative, but also a strategic investment in national development?
It is impossible for any nation to progress without empowering girls and women directly. It is impossible. Right. It doesn't work. There's no evidence that suggests that. And I'll tell you for many reasons. One, the face of a stable home, a thriving home, is the face of a woman.
Okay.
And even more so here in Nigeria, where in Nigeria, the mother, as it were, is the fulcrum, is a pillar of every thriving family. That is the most common thing you see. Out of every 5 homes, 4 of them, you will find a woman who is the pillar. But then it is girls that grow into mothers.
Absolutely.
And what we've observed is that the more empowered, educated, stable girls, then the more stable, empowered, progressive mothers and women we will have. It's a direct translation of what you invest in or what you get out. Of what you sow on what you reap. To that extent, a nation that is serious about nation building will heavily invest in girls. And not just invest in girls for the sake of it, but will invest in girls on three things. One, education, basic education. Two, protection from every form of violence. Three, reproductive health. These three things are the key factors that make a girl to either thrive or not to thrive. And for us, it becomes a national imperative. If we must make progress as a nation, this group of people, this demography, must be prioritized, in our national discourses and our investment.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think you've already shed a lot of light about exactly why it is important to actually invest in girls. So to follow up on that, what do you think policymakers and decision makers sometimes fail to appreciate about the long-term impact on this investment?
In my opinion, I think it is because the Nigerian society is patriarchal in nature.
Okay.
Yes. And to that extent, as human beings, they are self-serving. Because I'm one of them as a man. If you look at the history of this country and how we've evolved, the biggest decisions, those who sit in the decision rooms and those who control our national resources have mostly been men. And because of that, the tendency by nature is that men will be self-serving. And they will look more after themselves, their interests, than that of women. And over the years, what has happened is that we've left women and girls behind. Our policies, our systems, our ways of living, our lifestyle, and this culture of patriarchy has seriously, created a big divide between men and women, opportunities for men and women. And to that extent, we've made men and, boys more progressive than women in many ways. That is why in our culture, in this country, a young boy in school and a young girl in school get involved in a relationship, they get sexually involved, the girl gets pregnant, she drops out of school, but the boy continues school.
Exactly.
And that happens even in the university. A girl gets pregnant, most universities will criminalize her, expel her, but they don't do anything to the boy.
Exactly.
And that is a mirror of what happens even within our national discourse in terms of, how we create opportunities. And look at the way some of the most, the most important roles in this country, starting from the presidency, the vice president, Senate president, how many of them have been women? Some of them have never had a woman occupy those positions.
Actually.
While for others, it is very tokenistic. And where we find women, currently we have only 3 senators out of how many? 94 or so? 95 senators? Come on, that just tells you. And when you look at it at that level, it's easy to just say, oh, we have 3 or 4 senators out of 90-something senators. That's not where the problem is. Because the senators don't just happen by accident. There's a long process of political processes that make us emerge with senators that we have. So if you look deep down into those processes, that is where you find where the problem is. The problem starts from how we are organized as communities, how we are organized, as a people, in our local government, in our world, at state level, before it translates to national issues. So that is a big problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I think I'm going to ask this. So if Nigeria fully unlocks the potential of every girl child, what do you think our country would look like in 10 years?
In my opinion, what will happen is that it will widen the space for equity. And by equity, I mean equal opportunities for boys and for girls by their nature and their very experience. The way boys experience Nigeria is different from the way girls experience Nigeria.
Actually.
I'll give you common examples, starting from childhood, into early adulthood. Evidence, data suggests that girls in many parts of Nigeria still miss at least 50 days of school simply because of their period. But that cannot be told of any developed country in the world.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That alone shows how we have left women behind. So if we cover that gap, It means that women will not miss school simply because of period. They will miss school like boys for any other reason that will make any human being miss school. Maybe they're ill, or maybe there's a problem, So then that becomes equity, because it means boys will also miss school like girls. We will also make progress when we don't criminalize any issues that have to do with girls. If a girl gets pregnant, she should be allowed to finish school, or she should go give birth, come back and continue school. Exactly. In ways that do not make her suffer any delay, because of that simple situation. Which therefore means that we must expand the access to reproductive health to girls. We must expand it and make it free and affordable. Finally, we must make reproductive health products available and free. In many parts of this country, do you know that condoms are still free? But sanitary pads are still increasing in cost.
Every day.
Every day. Many girls are unable. This is pure economics. Are unable to afford sanitary pads. Yes. It affects their dignity, it affects their productivity, and it affects their ability, to express themselves in public.
Even when they are married.
Even when they are married. Even married women. Yes. So we must come to a place as a country because we can afford it.
Definitely.
Let nobody tell me. Definitely. This is one thing we can afford.
Absolutely.
If we argue we cannot afford a military aircraft to kill all terrorists, and we argue we don't have enough money to make power stable, we can afford sanitary pads for every woman in Nigeria. We can. Absolutely. That should be something that should be in our past. So in 10 years, everything I have just mentioned is doable. If we do these things, we'll find more stable families, we will find more productive women, and ultimately, we will have a more thriving nation.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's very refreshing to hear you speak so candidly about all of this, about experiences, expectations from Nigerians, Africans, family, and all of that. So now, talking about leadership, leadership can be rewarding, right?
Yes.
Regardless of the unglamorous sides of it, it can be rewarding, but it's also demanding.
Absolutely.
And and sometimes isolating. So what lessons has been one of the most difficult lessons that you've learned while managing large-scale development and humanitarian initiative?
Well, there are so many challenges when you manage a large-scale humanitarian development initiative. Very, very many. Number one is to stay true to your purpose and your mandate, which is very difficult. In Plan International, at a point in time, I had 13 offices across Nigeria.
Wow.
I had over 300 full-time staff, and I had over 2,000 ad hoc workers across Nigeria.
And you were managing all of that?
All of that.
Wow.
So,
all right.
The complexity that this comes with, it's indescribable, to be honest. Because then you have to account for every single person. You have to ensure that every single person stays true to purpose. Then you have to instill very deep level of discipline and commitment to the purpose of why you exist. When you put all of this together, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And to that extent, one of the things I've done over the years is to see how we build the trust of leaders and allow the leadership qualities we display as leaders to trickle down rather than enforcing it. So this is not a military cantonment or a military formation. In the military, it is law and order. You obey the last command.
Of course.
You make a mistake, you are dealt with. In this sector, you inspire leadership, you inspire good behavior. And which means therefore that your inspiration comes by persuasion rather than by law and by force. So you have to spend a lot of time persuading, encouraging, and demonstrating the right behavior for people to emulate. That's very difficult.
And it's like making people see the end goal when they are just probably seeing what is right.
Because most people come into your team first from a position of survivor. In fact, in my office, My team will always tell you, I have a mantra. Anytime I'm having my all-staff meeting, one of the first things I tell everybody is that, guys, let's not kid ourselves. We have all come here to hustle. Let's forget passion and we have all come here to hustle first.
Yeah.
Which therefore means that each person has come with some level of selfishness to make something for yourself and for your family first.
Yeah.
And then on the back of that, do something you really love. That's where passion comes in. So when I talk to my staff, I say, see, you have come to hustle, I have come to hustle. Don't use your hustle to spoil my hustle. Because if your hustle works and my hustle works, we all thrive.
Definitely.
For me, I like bringing that level of humanity to our work so that we don't get it twisted.
Actually.
And remind ourselves why we gather every day. That, see, we have all come to hustle. And again, to hustle doing something we really love. That's where passion and interest meet. When passion and interest meet, you don't need to motivate people. People are self-motivated, you know, to a large extent. There are some people whose interests still not align with the mission. You will struggle with those ones. And over time, there are systems in place and policies that help you to identify those people and take them out in smooth, and transparent ways. But majority of your people, to be honest, out of 100%, to be honest, you have 25% who are fully motivated. They come fully motivated. They love the organization, they love the mission, they want to contribute, and then you're paying them interest, and mission, aligned. Another 20% or 25%, they really don't care about the mission. They've just come there to hustle. They've just come for their interest. So they don't care if you change the lives of girls. They just want to make a living, and they will contribute to whatever it is you're doing. There's 50% in between. Every day you wake up as leaders, your role is to see how much of that 50% you win over to the first 25%.
Oh, wow.
Yes, every day is a struggle. That 50% is up for grabs. A successful leadership, a successful country director, a successful chief executive will win as many as possible from that 50%
to the
into the 25% that is already self-motivated. That's your goal.
So was there a moment that fundamentally changed the way you lead? I mean, what was those experiences that made you say, okay, this is the best approach of leadership?
Yes. So my leadership style can be defined as people-centered. And the reason why my leadership style is people-centered is that I believe in people. I believe in the agency of every individual.
Wow.
And growing up, getting involved in this space, in the initial stages of my life, two defining moments happened. One, my mom, and me, myself.
Okay.
My mom never went to school. She's what you would call an illiterate. My mom did not go to school. She's a petty business trader. And she raised all five of us out of nothing. And because early on in her career, in her life, having had 5 children, 5 of us were still very young, she separated with my dad. And because our society in Nigeria is not supportive of women, single mothers at that time. Now I think single motherhood is a thing. During our time,
but it's still a struggle, though.
Well, I think so. I think they are still struggling, but it's better now than then.
And then,
During our time, as a single mother, you're already labeled. You suffer exclusion and all sorts of things, and so opportunities are less for you. As a single mother, then there are many things you can do. And it closes a lot of doors for you and for you and your children.
Wow.
So even we as children, we grew up with stigma simply because we were being raised by a single mom. Yes. In fact, growing up, and I don't know how far this video will go, there were young girls at that time when I was still in university who told me they can't get married to me simply because I'm being raised by a single mom. Yeah. They said because their parents wouldn't agree.
Oh my
that
God.
They got married to somebody who is from a sin, from who was being raised. That's how bad it is. That's the kind of stigma we were growing up, not to talk of the woman.
Wow.
Then, so it's about opportunities, right?
Yes.
Secondly, for me to get involved in this sector, the people who brought me to the sector coached me, supported me, enabled me. None of them are my relatives. I didn't meet any of them from anywhere. They saw me, saw the potential in me, and invested in me.
Wow.
Those two things have defined who I am today. To that extent, my mission and my leadership is built around trusting and investing in people I am not related to, simply for the sake of, one, you're a human being, two, you have potentials. I will take a chance on you. That's where I lead my team.
Okay.
So my team, just to wrap up that, is built strongly around trust, trust, a huge level of trust within the team.
The different angle that you've taken it. I mean, thank you so much for sharing. So now let's talk about organization. I mean, we've heard some of the leadership experiences that you've spoken about. Now I want to talk about organization. So individuals building organizations. So we're looking towards, so of course, when every individual starts, they connect more with their communities, right? But the moment they start to grow and scale, they start to lose touch with their communities, with the communities they serve. So now, how do we balance scaling impact while staying deeply deeply connected to local realities and community needs?
In my leadership journey, it is one thing.
One thing.
Yes,
all right.
And it's a strategy.
Strategy.
People take it for granted.
Okay.
But honestly, and there are many people who have the same school of thought with me, without strategy, you cannot achieve meaningful change. That is the strategy we use.
Wow, I like the fact you just said strategy is the only way.
Yeah.
And trust me, I think I agree with you on this. No, I don't think. I actually do agree with you on this. It's a very, direct one. You have to be able to strategize, to be strategic in your plans. It gives you guide from the beginning to the end, and it shows you, it's like a map, so that you know exactly when you've taken the wrong turn or when you've missed it. Thank you. So I would say, so how do you think that communities can now build, how do you think communities together, I'm talking about NGOs, local institutions, civil society, emerging social entrepreneurs, how do you think we can now work together instead of working in silos? Because trust me, in Nigeria, each of the sectors, they tend to work in silos. So how do you think, as different organizations, different sectors, how do you think we can all work together?
I think, how can we all work together? What can we do to collaborate more rather than compete? It starts with an understanding that nobody, no organization can do it alone. It's not possible. In this country, 240 million people, with all the social indicators that we're struggling with, no organization, even if you have all the resources in the world, can actually make it happen.
Okay.
Because of that, it just makes common sense for us to look out for alliance building and for networkship and partnerships. And to look out for how can we help each other amplify the issues so that we can build a momentum to get to a tipping point to make things happen.
Yes.
Now, this is my philosophy. I always tell my team members that, guys, there is no need to compete. And my team know me. We do not have, you hardly find members of my team with any tendency to compete. No, we rather look for opportunities to collaborate. And that is why, for instance, when you invited me to this, I've not met you before, I've not met Impact Hub before, I hardly know what you guys do. But when we read your profile and we did our own due diligence, and we found out that you're a small group of young people doing brilliant work, we felt, why don't I come? Now, there are people in my position who will feel, no, because I already have a large presence and a huge visibility, you guys, would leverage on my visibility and to thrive. And I'm like, and so what? Because that's what it takes. Your platform is what I need to do, because we need to build platforms like yours to thrive. The way I see it is that I'm looking for opportunities to make our work easier. We are focusing on girls, children, and young people. You do work for young people. So therefore, where will my alliance be? It's with people who work with young people, so that my job is easier. The more young people who need, the less young people who need help, the better my life. That's the truth. But if you see the need right now, you just know that it is impossible for one organization to do that. So if every organization see things like that, I think it makes life easier. Because you know what? Funny enough, while in the NGO sector or in this development space, we compete with each other, the private sector do it better. The private sector leverage on each other. And that's why when you drive, for instance, even looking at, just think of the concept. If you drive, let's say, a Toyota Camry right now, and you buy a Toyota Camry, the speakers are actually made by another company. In fact, the last Toyota Camry I saw, the speakers were made by this popular people who do speakers, different people. The engine is made by a different company. The tires are made but the car is Mercedes.
Okay.
It's a concept.
It's
so why is Mercedes not involved in making radios, making tires, making rims, making engines? No. If you look at airplanes, Boeing, I think it's Boeing, their engines are made by Rolls-Royce. So think of it. Big companies collaborate. In fact, the bigger they are, the more they collaborate. But you find small, tiny NGOs like us, we begin to compete with each other and trying to outsmart each other. It doesn't make any sense.
Actually.
It doesn't make any sense. Now, even if, yes, we go to the same place to compete for funds, the same private sector, don't they come to sell their products to the same people?
Actually, they do.
They do. So the same Toyota that comes to sell their cars, their engines are made by another company. So why won't that same company just make the Toyota car and come and sell to you? There is common sense in collaborating. It's a private sector do it well. That's why private sector, thrive a lot. They still compete. But then you will find out that within their sectors, they collaborate more. Within our sectors, we don't collaborate as much as we do. Sometimes the donors force us. That's why donors will say, come in a consortium.
Yes.
Then we'll start scrambling, But naturally, you don't find people collaborating. You don't find people really talking to each other and learning from each other and trying not to duplicate processes and, amplifying their work. They try to outsmart each other, and that, for me, is a sad reality because there's only so much we can do. We're a very tiny portion of how the society is structured. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for sharing that. It's important as organizations, individuals, to always see a need for another organization. It makes the work easier, honestly. Thank you for sharing that. I think our sector or the development sector have to learn a lot about collaboration from the private sector. It's a very huge, I think it's a very good strategy that we need to take into consideration. And so now we're going to be talking about young people. Young people, I know your work is centered around championing young people and youth and girl development. And, young people, we continue to develop, build solutions despite significant challenges and harsh realities, right? Especially economic realities. But we still create impact in extraordinary ways. So what shifts are you seeing right now in youth-led social innovation and social entrepreneurship that actually gives you hope about Nigeria's future?
One thing. It's just one thing, to be honest.
I like when you always say it's just one thing.
No, it's because life is not that complex. It's just one thing. It's technology.
Technology.
It's technology.
All right.
Technology, the Internet of Things, AI has given young people hope more than any government has ever given young people hope in this world. In fact, the Internet of Things, technology, AI has given young people more hope, right?
Yes.
Than actual physical cash. Because what physical cash does is simply to give you a short-term capacity to do.
I agree.
That's what cash should do.
Yes.
Until it runs out. But what the internet has done is to give people an opportunity to explode. And that's what's happening to young people. And that gives me hope. We've seen young people being... Do you know, for instance, that Nigeria has the highest cryptocurrency engagement in the world? Nigeria is number one.
Wow.
Yes. I just found out that a few weeks ago. It's an online. I'm yet to verify it.
Wow.
But then it's shown that it's done by some really good studies. So I'm yet to verify it. But Nigeria has one of the highest internet penetration in Africa.
Yes.
And it's young people.
Yes, actually.
Good. Nigeria, has one of the highest usage or ownership of mobile phones in Africa.
Wow.
Yes. So when you look at that statistics, majority of this revolves around young people. Which tells me that many young people are engaging and using technology to do many things. Many young people are using technology to create businesses, to gain income, to trade online, to sell products and services like we've never seen before.
Yes.
And there are more young people now who are earning so much money just by engaging with technology than they will ever earn if they go and work for government or work anywhere else.
Or even in private sector.
Or even in private sector. And the scale of this alone, for me, is what, in my opinion, will transform this country in the next few years. And I'll use one as an example. Let's talk about Money Point. I don't know Money Point. I don't know the owners of Money Point. Or even Opay. I don't know them. Never met them before in my life. But let's talk about when they came to be and now. They came to be, most of them, around COVID period, right?
Well, now
they came to solve a problem.
Yes.
What was the problem? Cash.
Yeah.
And access.
Easy transfer.
Yes.
Easy.
And that's technology. It's built around technology.
Yes.
Because prior to now, before the Opays and the Money Points came to be, if you wanted cash or money or do any transaction, you have to go to the bank. More than often.
Actually.
I haven't been into a physical bank probably in the last 5 years to do any form of transaction. I can't remember when last I walked into a physical bank to do any form of transaction. All of that is what? Technology. That is what to transform this country and transform Africa if we use it well. Young people are using it, creating businesses, trading, getting employed online, providing their services online, and it's transforming the fortunes of many young people. And the more young people engage with technology, then they find out that Ujapa is almost becoming irrelevant.
Actually, yes.
Because there are many young people who are now earning both in foreign currency, in Naira, a lot of money in Nigeria, and they ask themselves, so what exactly am I going to look for in another country where I now have to do physical work just to earn this? Whereas here, I can be in the comfort of my home and earn so much money. If we continue with the trajectory that we're in the next few years, we will see more young millionaires like we've ever had in this country, in our history. And that is exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I totally agree with you. So we're still talking about young people.
Yeah.
Across communities, obviously, young people are often described as the future of Nigeria, of Africa, of the world. But yet, aside from the fact that technology has changed a little bit of some of these gaps, they are still facing unemployment, exclusion, insecurity, and limited opportunities, right? So how can development actors like yourself, like me, young people, how can we move beyond the rhetoric and create meaningful pathways for young people to actually lead and thrive?
Good. I think for me, it's a commitment we must demonstrate, like you said, in meaningful ways beyond the rhetoric, and start small and expand the frontiers for young people. And I'll tell you what I have done.
Okay.
When I became country director of Plan 4 years ago, reflecting over the mission of Plan, which is to seek for the rights of children and equality for girls and young people, I felt what's the best way for me to create pathways for girls, especially to thrive. And one of the things I did was to say, okay, every year, my team will help me to pick a young girl who will shadow me as shadow country director. And what that would mean is that she will share my seat with me for 1 year. Within that 1 year, she will walk alongside me. She will attend conferences, meetings, management meetings, engagement with my team for 1 year. And while I speak on behalf of Plan, she will speak on behalf of girls.
Wow.
And then she will gain opportunities to learn leadership, to learn practical work within my team, and get exposed. In that 1 year, after, or during that period, we'll expose her to the tactics of this sector, to how to build a career, how to strengthen her skills and understanding her. She will expose her and ensure that her network is expanded. She gets to know people. We will teach her practical skills, and competencies in terms of how to navigate this sector and be able to be useful both to herself and her community. And then after 1 year, we'll graduate her and we'll pick another one. And for me, as long as I remain country director of Plan, every year I will have. So far, I've had 4 of them whom I've graduated. In fact, the first one, she's done so well that right now she's an ambassador for several global organizations. She's all over the world. In fact, she just came back from where I think she traveled somewhere, and she just came back from a big conference, I think in Kenya or in Kigali somewhere.
Wow.
So she has even grown beyond me now. But she was my first shadow country director. A very young girl, very young girl. She's grown so much now that she's a member of my board. So she's now my boss. Yes. She sits on my board, and she has become one of my employers. They decide my future. That is the potential when you give young girls opportunities.
I love this.
So there are 4 of them who have come through, and this happens every year in October when we celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child, October 11th, because that's my anniversary. So during that time, that's when we do the graduation, and by then we've recruited the new one who does the handover and takes over. And once we identify one, she wears a badge like me. She's shadow country director. She sits in my office. If she comes, she engages with all the different teams. She's exposed to all my teams, understands what we do. And what she does is that she looks at the way we work and she builds evidence to be able to speak on behalf of the Nigerian girl child anywhere she is. So she becomes a voice for girls. Imagine that every chief executive in Nigeria
that's what I was going.
chooses a young person to shadow them and give them this kind of opportunity.
Oh my God, it will be a very great one.
It's transformational. So for me, it's a brand I sell. Though it's my brand, but I'm selling it to everybody who cares for free. To say, please, whatever position you occupy, once you occupy a chief executive position, pick a young person, could be a boy or a girl, who shadows you. Open up the person to real-time opportunities. Not your daughter, for goodness sake. Not your son, for Christ's sake.
I think that's important
that's
to
a giving.
highlight, of course.
Pick anybody who ordinarily would never have the opportunity to sit side by side you and give them a life-transforming opportunity. That's what you do. Number 1, it's practical. This is very easy, it's cheap, doesn't cost anything. We don't pay them. I don't pay them. Because then we don't want the motivation to be misplaced. There's no payment.
Actually,
you just come, we pay for your costs. If you have to come to the office and go home, we pay your transport. If you need to travel with me, we pay your transport. If you're underage, below 24, you have a chaperone. If you're above 24, you come on your own. So we take care of you and ensure that you are not disposed to any form of abuse or taken advantage.
Wow.
And then when you graduate, you come up with a project which we fund. So whatever project you decide, we negotiate it and we cover it and you do it. Now, that's my legacy and that's my brand in terms of my leadership style. And it's an example of how we can create more pathways for young people.
Yes.
Again, we started this 2 years ago when Plan became 10 years. We had some money to do staff retreat, staff investment and all of that. But as a team, we came together and said, you know what? We can always find ways to do staff engagement, staff retreat and all of that. Let's give this money to young people. So what we did was that we created a fund and we asked, young-led, youth-focused organizations or youth-led organizations to apply for a grant of 10 million each. And so we gave over 100 million, in grants across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So each geopolitical zone had a slot of 10 million. And a young person won the money. And we did not prescribe what they do with it. We simply said it must be a project or an investment that will benefit more than yourself, that must benefit other young people. And we saw exciting projects. The whole process was led by young people who received the applications, called them, and chose those projects. My team did not get involved. was young people who'd made those selections. We only came to award the money, and we gave them cash on the spot, of course, checks, to go and do their work. We also gave one slot to a group of young girls. We gave another slot to a group of girls living with disabilities, and that again for me is another pathway of how we can meaningfully create investments for young people to thrive. Thirdly, we have several programs which other organizations have where they create opportunities, training, all of that. There are so many ways. For me, these things are not rocket science. One practical way we can invest in young people is to put them directly in front of opportunities, be it cash. You'll be shocked what young people do with cash when you give them cash in their hands. The owners or the founders of MoneyPoint, by their testimony, said they started MoneyPoint with just $100,000 grant. Today, they are worth $1.2 billion.
Yes.
So you will be amazed what young people do when you give them cash. Again, you'll be amazed what young people can do when you give them opportunities to create. And then, thirdly, you'll be amazed what young people will do when you put them in a position of leadership. For anybody listening to me, any practical thing you can do to create any of these opportunities for young people, do it. It's not rocket science. I don't need to tell you any elaborate plan of how you can inspire to perspire so that you can inspire to all of those. It doesn't make any sense. The most important thing is how practical is it for young people to engage.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, very mind-blowing opportunity for young people. I like the fact that you're giving young people opportunity that they would not on a normal ground be able to get. So can I ask what are the eligibility criteria to be a shadow country director? What is the age grade? How do people get to become part of that initiative?
So, number one, you must be a girl, of course, obviously. You must be a girl. I think you must be above 18.
Okay.
I don't think we have a closed age. I think 29 is the apex because, again, we want it to be meaningful for young people. But I think for the last 4 years, we've always settled around ages between 20 and 24. Because then that's where we find a lot of young people who have just finished school and are bored to explore the world. That is a fantastic opportunity. In fact, I always tell them that 1 year they shadow me is more than a master's program. Because when you go and do a master's program, let's be honest, how many people, young people, ask young people, if you go out of this room after this series, meet as many young people as you've met and ask them, have you done a master's? Yes. No, even start with their bachelor's degree. What was your project on? How many young people remember what their project you were on? Okay, for those who have done a master's, what did you study in your master's?
Actually.
So how practical is the kind of education we do in this country? But in 1 year, if you sit with any of my shadow country directors and ask them, what did you learn? They will give you a thesis. In fact, if they start talking, they wouldn't finish. And they will tell you the dimensions of how this opportunity has transformed their lives. As a person, and in terms of their career, one of them is a lawyer. And she says she's a better lawyer. In fact, funny enough, I think about 2 of them are lawyers. And they all claim that they've become better lawyers, young lawyers, because of that. So that, for me, is the practicality of this experience, of the opportunity that I create, through the shadow country director. And unfortunately, it's just for girls because we're a girl-focused organization. I know a lot of young boys have asked me, Charles, why don't you give us an opportunity? But we're a girl-focused organization. So for me, the priority is for girls. And because girls have suffered from lack of opportunities, my intention is to create or to fill up that gap and to bridge that gap. But there are other people who will give boys opportunity, and I encourage them to look out for those people and encourage people to give boys opportunity. But my role in Plan International is for girls. And that is what, I continue to do for girls.
Thank you so much, Dr. Usie. So development work, actually, we want to move on. So development work often requires balancing immediate humanitarian needs with, of course, long-term systems change. How can organizations effectively respond to emergencies while also building a sustainable solution that endure beyond project or funding cycles?
So again, I would prefer to use the tactics I told you earlier on, which is durable solutions.
Okay.
Durable solutions enable organizations to respond to immediate life-saving needs while building long-term infrastructure and long-term goals. And what that tactics enables organizations to adopt a strategy which we call ready to respond.
Ready to
A
respond.
ready to respond strategy means that you anticipate
A problem.
problems. Yes,
okay.
some people call it anticipatory action. So you anticipate problems, you build a scenario around that problem, you invest in the likely support
Solutions.
or response to that problem even before it happens.
Wow, that's a deep.
And then,
thinking
yes,
analogy.
and then you think of long-term solutions. I'm going to use a practical example on how this
Okay,
works in
please.
real life.
Thank you.
So let's talk about flooding.
Okay.
Flooding is one natural issue or
you don't
disaster
expect.
that affects us in Nigeria every year. And every year when it happens, the only thing Nigerians cry is that, why do we always allow this to keep happening? Because we have people who lose their lives, we have
Their
people who
properties.
lose their properties and everything. So, responding to need. As we speak, this year, there's going to be flooding again, whether we like it or not. The rains are coming. We're going to have flooding. An anticipatory action would imagine first by saying, where are the likely hotspots? So you go to those hotspots, you sit with the community members, and you build a response plan.
Wow.
If flooding comes, what should we do?
Wow.
How do we respond?
Wow.
Who is most at need? How do we support those people who are most in need? In one of the communities where we built this kind of system, we found out when we sat with the community and we discussed this. You know what we were told? This is what many Nigerians never get to know. We were told that, see, in this community, if a flooding comes, one of the reasons why some of us don't leave is that there are people in this community who are old people. They can't run, they don't have any other place to go to. So we stay behind because of them. So that when the flood comes, we go and help them. Like, how many times as a country do we sit down and think of this?
Emotional.
Yes. In real life.
Wow. Oh
In
my
fact, they gave example of a mother, a grandmother, who at that time had almost 19 children with her. Whose children were these? Their parents either have been killed or their parents are somewhere looking for greener pastures, and they all leave their children with this grandmother. Guess what? She's blind.
Oh my God. Oh
So
my God.
if a flooding comes, who will remember this woman and these 19 children who are with her? An anticipatory action identifies that kind of situation and plans around that situation. So in that community, what happened was that the community agreed that, you know what, this woman can no longer remain in this house. The community organized and got her a better place off the flooding pathway in such a way that whether flooding comes, flooding does not come, she is not exposed anymore or vulnerable to that. This was community action, not driven by us.
Wow.
We just enabled it to happen. Secondly, what did we do? We provided support to the woman to know what to do when there is a situation. And then the community put what they call early warning systems, early warning triggers, so that when there is a potential for flooding, the communities do what we call sensitization. So the woman hears, and then there are things she needs to do to keep her and these children safe. The children were also given some form of orientation, even as children, which therefore means that we had to build manuals and orientation
And
booklets to sensitize children on what to do when a flooding is coming. That is the practicality of our work. Now, all of these things I've just talked about, most of it is first life-saving, which means moving the woman out of the pathway for flooding. Secondly, building stockpile. So we work with the local government and the state government to build a stockpile of immediate resources that are needed when people are displaced. Things like what? Now, again, this is where Nigerians don't budget for. When people are displaced, let's say all of us in this room are displaced right now. You're a woman, I'm a man. Our needs are different if we have to run away right now and be displaced from our homes. For a woman, all of us will need blankets. All of us will need buckets. All of us will need water to drink. All of us will need water to bathe. But you will need sanitary pads. I don't need it. How many times do we sit down to plan and ensure that that happens?
That's very
So that the woman gets sanitary pads, when that happens. Again, some women have complications when they have their period. So they will need to take Feldin or something. How do you build that into a response plan? Because I don't need it. But if it's a man who is not exposed, who does not have the right capacity, that is drawing the response plan, will that man never remember this dynamic for the woman? He won't. The man will just plan. In fact, if you leave the man, he will even plan for how to buy beer so that, men can cope when these things happen. This is the reality of our lives. So this is what we call anticipatory action. You anticipate a disaster and you plan for it as if it has already happened. Then you build those things. You put a stockpile. You keep these things. We even buy consumables, toilet paper, you buy medicines, you buy water purification tablets, you keep these things for a cycle. And closer to the cycle of its expiration, you don't use it, you dispose it, you build another one. These are things that communities can do. It doesn't cost a lot of money. If you plan ahead, it doesn't cost much. It's when you wait for the disaster to strike, that's when it costs a lot of money. Then you build early warning systems.
Thank you so much, Dr. Usie. I think we'll just take this very last one. When you think about the future over the next decade, what gives you hope and what will do young girls, leaders, community builders, social innovators have in shaping a more inclusive and prosperous society?
What gives me hope for young people to create a more inclusive society and prosperous?
I mean, what role does all these young girls have?
Yes.
Builders, innovators, community builders, leaders, and social development practitioners. What role do we all have to ensure that we're shaping a more inclusive and prosperous society?
I think the role we have is simply to maximize the use of technology in our lives. Whether we like it or not, technology is disrupting our lives like never before. And technology is demystifying some of the things we used to hold so sacred. And instead of us to embrace this change and find a way to dialogue with it and interact with it, some people are resisting it. So technology is transforming the way we know our experience religion, as it were. And some of the things we used to hold so sacred in terms of how we practice religion, be you Christian, Muslim, traditional worshiper, whatever, technology is disrupting it. And many people are panicking. Instead of us to interact with it and find ways to have a conversation and use it well, because we are pushing back, what is happening is that young people are leaving us behind and they are going to do what they want to do. And many people now say technology is the Antichrist. You see the way we think. Because when you don't understand something, you give it a bad name. They say, kill it, give a dog a bad name to kill it. That's what we are doing. We say technology is the Antichrist. They say technology will come as 666. Whilst we are doing that, other countries have used technology to transform their lives forever. Forever. So is it that devil does not work in those places? Devil does not work in some of those in those climes. I came back from Europe not too long ago, and one of the best experiences I always have when I go to Europe is I always land in London, and I like to go with the train, the fast train from London to Paris. It goes under the ocean.
Oh, wow.
The train, yes, the speed train, the bullet train, it goes under the ocean. It takes 2 hours. It's one of the most beautiful experiences you have.
So you're seeing all the fishy...
No, you're not seeing anything because, the train route is built in, it's enclosed. It's built right under the ocean or through the ocean. It goes through the ocean, built. But when you're on the train and you're about to dive into the ocean, it gives you an indication. It says we're going under the sea now and all of that. And it's technology. In Nigeria, we call it witchcraft. See the problem we have. So,
oh my God.
The only way we can move forward is, for us to embrace technology and to have a conversation. And the role all of us have to play is to help to guide each other. Because then, if we don't use it well, there are instances where it may cause problems. That's why you need to interact with it rather than shying away from it. Education is disrupting the way we do. Technology is disrupting the way we do education. That's why right now there are more online schools than we used to have before.
Yeah,
and going forward in the next 10 years, we're going to have more online schools. I just came back from Adamawa and I had a conversation with the Commissioner for Education. And he told me that, Charles, there are 4 local governments who, terrorists or whoever, armed groups have come to displace them, destroy their schools. So children in those 4 local governments cannot go to school. Is there a way we can deploy technology so that they are not left behind? And I was like, that's a good idea. And we're currently looking at options to help the state government to do that. That's the kind of world we want to build, where things do not disrupt the lives of young people. We're able to, Again, technology is disrupting the healthcare system.
Yeah.
There are areas where you don't need to go to the hospital, just the way we don't go to the bank anymore to take money. In the next 10 years, right, we will not need to go to the hospital to meet a doctor. You will only sign into an app, and the doctor is going to examine you online and will make prescription for you. And when they make prescription for you, currently, there are online pharmacies where you go online and you give them your prescription. They will send your medication to your house. It's happening in Abuja. I'm not talking of, yes. So in the next 10 years, technology is going to disrupt how we do healthcare. It's going to disrupt our education. It's going to disrupt religion. Yes, how we go to church and how we pray. Because for most of those things we pray about, they are actually solved by technology. Yeah. So technology is going to disrupt all of our lives, every part of our lives, in how we do fashion. Do you know that fashion, my mother, because she didn't go to school, her handwork was, she was a tailor. And those days, as a tailor, my mother used to have a fat book like this that they call catalog. They are foreign. These catalogs come every year from different countries, where you will see different styles. That's where they get styles to sew from. Guess what? Nobody uses catalog anymore. Fashion designers go online. So technology is disrupting every single part of our lives.
Actually.
It's disrupting how we do business, how we trade, how we eat, how we buy things, how we, everything. So therefore, going forward, my final take is, I think everybody should get prepared, engage with technology, whatever it is you do, engage with technology and interact with it and find out how it can make your life and the work you do better. Use it in the best possible way that can improve your life and the lives of humans around you. And I think that's what's going to transform this country in the next 10 years.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Usie, for, bringing the soul of community, collaboration, your openness, your genuineness, and community development to the Impact Door conversation. And thank you for your leadership at Plan International. It's been such an engaging conversation. We appreciate that you honored our invitation. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. And I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much. It has been an incredibly rich, masterfully candid, and deeply restoring conversation. It's been inspiring, exploring how meaningful change happens when leadership is rooted in dignity, service, and a deep commitment to people. And with that, we have come to the very end of today's conversation. To everyone that stayed till the end, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Impact Door Conversation. Remember that closing inequalities and removing barriers to justice is a collective responsibility. So join the mission and build a better world for all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode to amplify the critical impact. Until next time, keep engaging, keep connecting, and keep driving impact. My name is Benita, and it was a pleasure being your host today. Till next episode, see you. Bye.